Well now, you're certainly a surprise.
All but one. I've seen what you've done for the village. In easier times I would have handled it, but Tutakan glances towards the river. Then back at you. Some of our Rotuks went missing recently. Believe they swam too close to the Jaranin's territory. Several were recovered, none of them alive. Few in one piece. I could not find my Rotuk, Ipko. She has been my hunting partner for many years. If she... He shakes his head. Please aid me. If you search the river, I will search the shore.
Now I have a story to tell.
Yes, you need a moment to prepare, I need a moment to get the Draconium deposit. Oh, it's attacking us. Oh, bugger off. Destroy. No, it's dead. Is that Ipko? I think she's alive. What? Damn, we gotta save her. Tutakan, stay back! It's too dangerous with the Jardine beasts swarming. We cannot lose you. Oh boy. It's actually one of the first times where a Tauren grabs something and it's not totally clipping into oblivion. I mean, the head is totally fine. I mean, yes, the tail here, that's kind of terrible clipping, but overall, that's kind of a big improvement to what's holding an item. Usually, when a Tauren holds anything, there's this titanic amount of clipping because Blizzard is not interested in actually optimizing the holding animation for objects for Tauren. But that's on a scale of 1 to 10, if Blizzard was at 3 out of 10, this is easily a 5 to 6. Is she... No, she's gone. Oh, my dearie.
Where have you come from? Ah, a new face.
I'm so sorry. Go. I failed you. You were my greatest friend, and I failed you. Ancestors, forgive me. Closure. I do not know what to say. I had no idea that the chieftain's pain ran so deep. It makes sense. Otuks are not pets to our people, especially not to hunters like our chieftain. They are friends, our companions, and members of our families. Ipko was Tutakan's first and only Otuk. Uktulot's hunters hold this bond to be sacred. That's a bit of clipping. You're seeing that? I can see it. I mean, there's a lot of clipping everywhere. Ipko, I mean, people talking about ray tracing, and that's cool and important, but ragdoll physics and clipping of objects, it's still a terrible problem in terms of realism. I mean, just look at the animation when he goes backwards with his upper torso, how the shoulder plates are just clipping into oblivion. It's just... damn, there's still a long way to go. I mean, sure, this is not a game that's... oh, I need to change transmog. It's not a game that is trying to depict reality realistically. Oh, interesting. That's actually not terrible. I have a lot of cloaks. I'm not going to use any of those. It's interesting to know that we have so many. Well, where's... there you are. But of course, Blizzard is usually doing the lazy path. So if there is a technology that doesn't require a shitload of work to get it done, and if it's beneficial towards graphics quality without making players buy the newest shiny graphics cards, they're usually doing it. Of course, they're not interested in doing any in-depth work like rewriting the engine for 10-bit and making a proper HDR, or even adding DLSS or something. I mean, they could easily boost the performance numbers into oblivion, up into a good oblivion, but they're not interested in doing that. That would actually take work. I mean, a great deal of work.
Well now,
It goes, yes. I will see that her passage to the place of our ancestors is a peaceful one.
keep the balance preserved.
Come, meet me at the shrine to Bbbbuutt, the god who watches over our fallen. The chieftain will need our strength to see this through. I knew what happened to the Otuks, but I did not know it had cut Tutakan so deeply. I wanted to read that. And it's gone. Well, you can read it by just going back and pressing on the pause button. Innkeeper, okay, we need to go up there.
A stranger here? Farewell then, friend.
Please assist Unujah with the ritual. I like to stay with Ipko. This incense is made from plants that grow near the stone ancestors. Its smoke will draw their spirits to us. Light the beacon and call upon Rohan to answer its call. The incense when you are ready. But where was Gondor when the Westfold fell? Where was Gondor when Sauron deceived Galadriel? Where was Gondor when Amazon went the sacred path of Lord of the Rings storytelling and shat on it? Well, nobody knows. Anyway, when you're ready.
Well now, you're certainly a surprise.
I am. Sorry. Ancestors, just as this smoke rises to the skies, embrace our fallen friend as she rises to rejoin you. We will now make an offering to Rael. Take one of the fish from that basket and place it on the altar. I'm not sure. Interpunctuation. As this beautiful example of we're eating now Grandpa, and a single little dash can save a life. I hope you know what I mean. If not, that's also okay. Just learn. Life is not about knowing everything, it's about learning, and about not making the same mistake over and over and over again. Ipko led many great hunts alongside our chieftain, protecting our people from enemies and from hunger. Accept this offering, the fruits of one of her many victories. Karkud hears us. Lift up the lantern to her to guide me. I mean, I'm serious with this point. It's very important in life. You can't know everything, and every human is prone to failure where he's not experienced greatly. And life is not about not making mistakes. Life is about trying to avoid obvious mistakes, especially when they have dire consequences for other humans or you. And life is about trying to learn from mistakes. So, I'm not going to judge you if you do a mistake, but I am going to judge you if you do the same mistake that could be easily avoided 500 times in a row. I mean, at some point, when people are doing the same mistakes over and over and over again, it's just the question arises, and the question is, why? With an exclamation mark. Just, I see so many people doing the same mistakes over and over and over again. I just wonder, what are they trying to achieve in life? Maybe nothing. Maybe that's the answer. Ipko has been one of our greatest, a hunter, a warrior, and a friend. But we remember always that oil unshared can light only one lantern. Harkut has accepted her. May she stand at the ancestor's side now.
Who might you be?
Tutankhamun's jaw is set tightly. Tears brimming in the corners of his eyes. Where are the tears here? Come on, Blizzard, stop being lazy. Just add a couple of drops of liquid. He does not look at you. You are. Sorry.
Our paths shall cross again.
Need time with my thoughts.
Welcome, welcome.
In morning. Damn, I want a lot of the Rings MMORPG.
We'll remember you.
Content size of World of Warcraft, graphics quality from Red Dead Redemption. Imagine that. Imagine you could have Minas Tirith. Minas Tirith? Minas Tirith? With housing, where, I don't know, you have 5,000 players on a server and 5,000 houses and everybody can buy one. I mean, jeez, damn, imagine the possibilities. Damn. But obviously we're not there yet in terms of graphics power. Right now, we can play Red Dead Redemption in single player. But if we go into multiplayer, the problem becomes apparent that we do not yet have the graphics and processing power, I mean CPU power, to properly render such a game in this beautifully detailed way with hundreds of players. It's just not going to work. I mean, World of Warcraft is quite a good example that even though the game looks comic-ish and in terms of graphics quality lower end styled, if you have 200 people on the screen, it's still going to start lagging on a high-end system. And that's not even only the problem of it's unoptimized as shit. No, not necessarily. It's a multitude of problems, starting from ping to, well, ultimately the processing power of what you have. Because it might be easy to render one dude jumping, doing stuff, but then 10, 50, 100, 200, it's going to rise exponentially, the amount of processing that needs to be done to render all that in real time and transmit that data from everyone to central location, and then also send all that data back in time so that people can actually react to each other. I mean, don't get me wrong when I criticize Blizzard about building buggy games. They've done a relatively good job trying to create a game where millions of people can play without the servers constantly crashing. The problem is, it is an old game, and Blizzard has already proven what they're capable of. And sometimes when they take a step back, I'm just surprised, and I ask myself why. They already mastered certain things, and then, like a toddler, they stumble back onto their own feet or something. Yeah. That's the only reason I can think of. It's just Blizzard. Hopefully you can get around. Hopefully you can try to fix yourself and then your games. Especially if I look at Warcraft 3 refunded, abandoned, left in the dust, ridiculed by everyone for good reasons, and Blizzard, instead of fixing it. For example, there's a certain company who created a game called Cyberpunk. And even though it took them years to fix most of the major issues, they have been continuously working on it. I mean, the game was an absolute shambles, and it was a shame to release it in that broken state. Yet still, it needs to be said that they have been continuously working on it, and they've tried to. They did their best with the resources they had to try to make it right. Blizzard did not do that. Blizzard's attempt at making Warcraft 3 and fixing it was they asked, or well, they underpaid a third-party studio to create a shitty 3D upscale remaster That's not even a remaster. It's not worth calling it remaster. Version of one of their old ancient jewels, and it turned out shit. And Blizzard, at that very particular moment, they could have said, Jesus, we did a massive, massive mistake. We mistreated our beloved jewel of old because of our greed. And we will fix it. We're going to sit down and we're going to work on this game. We don't give a shit if it costs us money. We know that in order to please our customers and please ourselves, in order to look into the mirror and smile, we need to fix this. And then Blizzard could have worked on it. But apparently Blizzard shut down the developer studio. I mean the team working on it. And then a year later they realized, oh, it's still absolutely broken, everybody hates us. How about we take 2 people and let them work on it? And occasionally, half a year or so, after that, they started implementing mini patches. So they could say, hey, we didn't completely abandon it. But come on, Blizzard. Doing this amount of super lazy work is almost as bad as doing nothing. I mean, the game is in complete shambles. It deserved to have properly remade cinematics, remade features, true to what came before, and with new features and improved features. Not take 50% of the features away, upscale it with an automatic upscaling tool, call it a day. The only thing that Warcraft III did good were a couple of the hand-modeled new textures, but the community could do that in a couple of months. It's not necessary at all to demand so much money, and it's especially a shame for a studio that once had impeccable reputation. Now they've fallen, and I don't see them rising anytime soon.
Before me?
And there are many people on this planet who are probably in mourning about that, because gaming, entertainment in general, there is a beautiful interview with a person you will know, Stanley, one of the great entertainers who managed to inspire millions of children. And the value of entertainment should never be taken lightly. Through entertainment, you can teach and show people values, ideals, beautiful stories that they will keep with themselves, and where they might draw strength in dark hours. And if you entertain people, that means that you make their life joyful. Especially in a world that on the outside has become very cold, and where some people are not comfortable anymore with what they get outside. For example, if I look at certain countries in Central Europe, where it is recommended not to go out into parks at the evening or at night anymore, because there are certain wonderful persons out there with a criminal sense of mind, and the police is just like, what? We can't do anything, we don't have the people. Just don't go into the park at night. I mean, it's just what the... Yeah. Never underestimate entertainment. I mean, it needs to be of a good sort. Of course, there is the dumb entertainment. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. But if you try to entertain people and at the same time try to educate them in some little ways. I mean, Stan Lee is a beautiful example. All these superheroes, they had flaws. And often at times they came from low. They weren't born the perfect warrior, no. There are so many little morals hidden, I mean, sometimes openly or not, in the stories he and his colleagues created. And people still remember these. The generation grew up knowing that with great power comes great responsibility. Whilst we have generations that are older who do not understand that with great power comes great responsibility. And that's a bit of a problem, because many people in power do not take any responsibility. And then they're surprised when people demand that. And yeah, that's a bit of a problem. Politicians. Never mind that.
Come, tell us a tale.
This did not need to happen. Those cowardly Jaradin, slaughtering our Rotuks and leaving them for their twisted beasts to pick clean. I do not take Tutokhans. Oh, by the way, we also haven't talked about something called they're all returning to Steam. Ubisoft returning to Steam. EA is returning to Steam. I mean, when they started this Uplay bullshit, this Origin bullshit, when every fucking developer wanted me to download their mediocre, badly programmed, badly optimized, no workshop having shit launcher, often I refused and didn't buy the game. Only the big games like Battlefield that I wanted to play with friends in my clan back in the day. And now they're all coming back because they realize people are not interested in that. Steam has so many good features. And Gaben is a person that is not interested in getting a shitload of money at all costs. You know, the guy who basically runs Steam, he could have made a shitload of money by selling his values and his company, and he could have turned Steam into a shithole and got infinitely rich, but he didn't. And as long as this man is alive and running a company, I have faith in Steam. And Steam is beautiful. I mean, it's just the workshop itself, mods. A developer studio that does not understand that modifications elevate a game. For example, Skyrim. Skyrim would have never been the magnificent game it is without modding. I mean, look at the company that created Skyrim and what they've done in the recent years. Jesus. I mean, I can already see them, out of greed, not allowing mods with a new Bethesda Elder Scrolls game. And if that should happen, I'm going to already prophesize the fall of the great potential. Because through modification, people can customize the gameplay to their liking, which means that everybody can like it. If you have a game, it will appeal maybe to 40% of the player base. But if you have mods, you can raise that to 60, 70, 80%. Because people can customize it to their liking. And they can add features, they can add content. I mean, at some point it becomes a bit of a problem, potentially, with licensing. For example, Creative Assembly is very fearful of the Tolkien Foundation. They know exactly that everybody wants Lord of the Rings modifications. But you might have noticed there are very few. And back in the days we had an extraordinary mod for Third Age. Sorry, Total War, not Third Age, sorry. Total War, Third Age. Team run by a dude calling himself on the TW Center called King Kong. A Lord of the Rings mod, a grand mod, magnificent mod. And at some point they stopped developing the mod. And later on it came out. It got known that Creative Assembly kind of openly told them, guys, we're nearing the point where we need to stop you because we might become liable to the Tolkien Foundation going haywire with their lawyers on us. And that basically killed maybe the greatest mod of all times for Medieval 2. And that's an absolute shame, but we all know that the Tolkien Foundation has no soul. I mean, it's not only the Tolkien Foundation. I mean, the structure behind the licensing to the Lord of the Rings is a bit of a it's a bit more complicated. Who holds the rights to the Lord of the Rings? Because there are several type of rights. For example, there are the rights to certain books. There are certain rights to television/movies. Back in the days when Lord of the Rings came out, the trilogy, the movies, Peter Jackson kind of talked about difficulties into getting the people involved that had the license rights get on board. Yes. J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, sold the film, stage, and merchandising rights of those works to United Artists in 1968. They in turn sold them to the Soul Sands Company in 1976, which licenses them through the former Tolkien Enterprises, now named Middle-earth Enterprises. And we're only talking about the film, stage, and merchandising rights. Oh my goodness. And The Lord of the Rings has a new rights owner. Oh, this is fresh, August 2022. Okay. Called Embracer. Embracer Group, the ambitious, acquisition-hungry Swedish gaming conglomerate, has bought the rights to make films, games, merchandise, and theme parks based on J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. The deal comes as a surprise. Reporting of the anticipated sale of the rights by the Soul Sands Company earlier this year, Variety said the buyer was expected to be a Hollywood studio or tech giant. Okay. Embracer has acquired Middle-earth Enterprises, the Sands Company subsidiary that owns the rights for significantly less than that. Oh, interesting. So as of basically September 2022, the Middle-earth Enterprises still exists, but it was bought by Swedish gaming conglomerate. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So they now have the worldwide rights to make films, video games, board games, merchandise, theme parks, and stage productions relating to the Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit. But there are several caveats, exemptions, and question marks. Jesus. The publishing rights to the books themselves are not included. They remain with the Tolkien estate and publisher HarperCollins. The licensing rights to Tolkien's other Middle-earth works, the Silmarillion and the Unfinished Tales of Númenor and Middle-earth, are also still controlled by the Tolkien estate and HarperCollins, although Embracer says it now owns matching rights to these works, meaning it has the right to match any offer the owners may get from elsewhere. TV rights are also another major exclusion. Per Variety, the right to produce a TV series longer than 8 episodes was carved out of the deal Tolkien's estate made with Soul Sands back in the 1970s, meaning that Amazon was able to deal with the estate directly when it bought those rights in 2017, cutting Middle-earth Enterprises out of the deal. So if they make a TV series with more than 8 episodes, they can ignore the Middle-earth Enterprises and go directly to the Tolkien estate, so the Tolkien estate can go extraordinarily greedy and take the hundreds of millions of dollars rammed into there by Amazon. And this goes on and on and on. It's a bit complicated, and I'm not sure if I like it. No, I don't. I also don't like what Christopher Tolkien made with the work of his father. You see, when you listen to the mighty Professor Tolkien, you will notice that he loved the idea of people diving into his world, of learning his ideas, of experience, of enjoying his art. His fantastic creation. And he treated it at its core as a book of fantasy, of entertainment, of making other people experience what he thought to be of interest. What he liked, what he enjoyed, and his son, who grew up and who lived as an adult, trying to piece together what his father left behind, he treated it as more of a work and not an entertainment. He treated it as a sort of jewel that could not be tarnished and that needed to be protected. And his son became quite adamant about, whoever dares change what my father wanted is an enemy of the realm. Along the lines of that. Even though, oddly enough, Christopher Tolkien massively changed some things. For example, people often say Amazon, oh, they are not faithful to the Silmarillion, it's lore, but then I need to ask the question, is the Silmarillion truly lore? It wasn't published by the Great Professor, no. Silmarillion is loosely based on the notes that Christopher Tolkien took together from his father. I mean, the Mighty Professor wrote a portion of it. But the problem is, we know that there are certain aspects to the Silmarillion that Tolkien, the Mighty Professor, wanted to do differently. For example, the battle at the end of the universe, where the five forces of good and evil clash, where at the end of day, Mendel's holes open and Malkor is defeated. Whatever. And that was part of what the Mighty Professor wanted to write into the Silmarillion, but Christopher Tolkien didn't like that. A mighty ending to this perfect creation that he tried to nurture all his life couldn't end in violence. So he changed that. And it's not the ending to the Silmarillion, but the Mighty Professor Tolkien planned it to be the kind of the ending to his stories. So Christopher Tolkien changed willingly the will of his father. So the question arises, if that is the case, if the Silmarillion is not true to the source material, that is what the Mighty Professor Tolkien left behind, can the Silmarillion in total be truly considered canon? And I believe the answer is no. We can use it partially as a canon, but at the end of the day, the only books published by the Mighty Professor are The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And everything else, to some degree, is just fanfiction. Because Christopher Tolkien decided to willingly change the source material when he did not like it. And that's a bit of a problem, especially for a fanatist who declared that any deviation from what my father intended is evil. And then he himself did that. My goodness. He didn't like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings because he changed things for dramaturgical reasons. And then he changed stuff himself? I mean, that's arrogant. If you criticize a person for doing something that you yourself are doing, you better have a mighty good explanation, otherwise you're going to look a bit like a hypocrite. Others cowardly Jardine, slaughtering our Tuks and leaving them for their twisted beasts to pick clean. I do not take Tutankhamun's grief lightly, but I worry for the future of our people if he dwells in darkness and grief too long. We need to act. It looks like he was headed to the Overlook above us. You have done him a great favor this day. He may be open to any goodwill you can show him. Please, see what can be done.
I'll pass your story along.
Tyrell, you brought Ipco back to us. If he listens to anyone right now, it is you. The mighty moths, are you going to aid us? I mean, it's a bit of a shame with Mothra. I'm not sure if you know, but King Kong and Gojira, there was a monsterverse. At least they tried to create a monsterverse in Hollywood, and that kind of didn't work out. We're also getting a new Transformers movie. Even though when I saw the trailer and I heard the voice of Optimus Prime again, oh, damn. It's just the voice. It's a shame with a certain Emperor Palpatine. Just played by a magnificent actor. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm criticizing the sequels because they are in truth shit. They are badly written Mary Sue fanfiction. Which isn't inherently bad if it's called a fanfiction. You know, if I had read that as a Mary Sue fanfiction on a fanfiction webpage, just as an idea of a fan, I would have called it as a cool idea. A bit over the top. I mean, every Star Destroyer has a Death Star laser. Palpatine just got resurrected without a good backstory. The dude Snoke, who was basically Darth Plagueis teased, became a running gag joke. What? Oh, and then Hux, this new Empire dude, who they teased as the big evil, also became a running gag. What? I mean, it's a bit over the top. I mean, crazy Crazy, 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 but it's okay. It's a fan fiction, I like it. But if it's an official production of Star Wars, if it is the successor to the legendary classic original Star Wars movies, then this can only be considered a bad joke. I still consider the sequels to be a fan fiction. It is not canon. It is not. Because this is just ridiculous. If you want to know cool canon stories, I suggest you take your hands in a bookstore and you are going to find good books about Star Wars. Obviously they're written by fans, by the ones keeping the franchise alive, and there are many beautiful stories. There are many lists of books, and I don't want to tell you what I would like you to read. Just go ahead and use a search engine and see what other people like, and then try to find what you might enjoy. And you will find thousands of good storylines that are infinitely better. And the sequels, I'm still not sure if the sequels are a secret attempt at killing Star Wars. Make it so bad that even the hardcore fans are going to turn on the franchise. I just don't see why. You could think about maybe so other franchises could evolve, but no, that doesn't make any sense. There's just not. What? Why did Disney go completely bonkers and shit on the beautiful Star Wars franchise? It's just it's the same with Game of Thrones. It's just, who with a functioning brain looked at what they created and thought it would be actually good? Somehow Daenerys or Tyrion, they forgot about the Iron Fleet. Oh, 10,000 storylines started and not finished. Who gives a shit? Varys slipping up massively and dying in flames. Brandon Stark becoming the king of Westeros. The Night King making not a long night, but a 10-minute night. What? Arya Stark. Oh my... Don't get me started. Yeah, it's just... Oh my goodness. I mean, you have to give the creators, the destroyers of Game of Thrones, basically, showrunners, 1.3% of slack, because the man in charge of Game of Thrones, basically, you know, certain Martin, he himself is not courageous enough to further write the story, because he saw the clusterfuck that he created, the multitude of 10,000 storylines, and he himself, after what, 10 years now, has not been able to continue the story. He's not satisfied with what he created, and these dudes were expected to properly finish it in 4 years or something. But then they went super greedy and they saw Disney. Oh, look at that, you are very good, we are going to give you Star Wars, you want that? Finish Game of Thrones, we're going to give you Star Wars. So, the showrunners of Game of Thrones went ahead, shat on Star Wars and finished it in 2 seasons, and it didn't work out and everybody hated them. And then Disney said, oh, no, nobody likes you anymore, no, that's bad, our offer is off the table, no more Star Wars for you. And they completely fucked up. But they deserve it, because they butchered a franchise because they grew tired of it. You know, it's no shame in saying we don't have the energy anymore to finish this. But then you have to step down and you have to search people with the energy and will to properly finish your baby. I mean, I can kind of understand them, because they kind of started the whole story and they wanted to bring it to an end. But if you are not interested in bringing it to an end properly, don't do it at all. I mean, Martin was very open when he said that he told them exactly how many seasons they need, and they kind of undercut him by a third at the end. And if an author of a franchise is telling you guys you need 5 more seasons to tell this story, and they decide to, no, we can do it in 2 seasons, with 6 episodes. Yeah, that was just a stupid idea, and you deserve to be blamed for that. Because you made a stupid call, and it did not work out, and that's on you. So, stop blaming everyone else, start blaming yourself. Thank you.
Where have you come from?
Hold out your arms to offer a hug. Damn.
May your steps be sure
No.
and your catch secure.
I need time to muster the strength to do what must be done. Show no mercy. That was a quote, by the way. I'm relatively often quoting. I'm not sure if you noticed. If you noticed, you might want to rewatch some of my videos. And if you manage to create a list with all of my quotes, I'm going to create 10 videos that you want from any game you want. Alright. Oh my, I might regret this. Let's say, as long as it's a game that is not overly perverted. You know, there are some games, it can be called games, but yeah, I wouldn't necessarily play, I don't know, sex game on YouTube. That would not work out. So, with this exception, let's say an ordinary mainstream game that is not 18 plus because of certain features. Okay.
A stranger here?
Tudakan rubs his face with both hands, sighing deeply. He looks haggard.
Don't forget to
By the
take
way, this is
some
also
soup
something that
for
I
the
would
journey.
like to live. I would like to ask you to consider. If you give your word, try to keep it. It's a problem when humans give their words and they break it over and over and over again. And at some point, the question arises, what is the worth of the words of a human if he constantly breaks his words? I mean, I know it's a common example, my table, Russia. They have started lying so often that they themselves started to believing their own lies. They can no longer differentiate between lies and truth. And that not only means that they have gone mad, it means that they cannot be trusted. And that's a bit of a problem. You know, back in the days there were evil people, but they knew that they were evil. They were openly evil. But now we have people delusional who believe that they're doing good work whilst they are being evil tyrants, and that will make the next decades problematic. I mean, how is planet Earth going to deal with Russia after the war in Ukraine? It's just, should they be shunned? Should they be de-armed? It's just, Jesus. Why is there so much hatred on this planet? I mean, the question is obvious, because of humans. Yeah, we're going to end this episode. This is going to take a while, I believe. We're not yet done, since find a new autocal companion. I kind of like this storyline. I kind of like the idea of trying to tell a story over a certain period of time. Obviously, Blizzard needs players to come back to the game because this is their model of revenue. You know, this is a game where you have to pay a monthly sum to play the game. So, you have a balance problem. If you make people wait too long and let them grind too hard, they're not going to return. If you're going to make everything exceptionally easy to acquire in a short amount of time, they're also not going to return. So you have to try to strike a balance. And Blizzard usually fails at that. even though in this particular case, with reputation farming that can be done in a day if you want to grind hard, or in a couple weeks if you want to take it slower, or even in 2-3 months if you just want to do the weekly quest or something, invest 2-3 hours a week, you're still going to be able to get far relatively fast, and the rewards are relatively nice. You get shiny toys, nice storylines, and I accept this. This way is acceptable. At least if there is no giant curve at the end where suddenly we need 10,000 progress. That would be kind of terrible.